Hello. This is a quick little update about my plans for the upcoming version of OstrichDB this project I've been working on. Firstly, I'd like to give a shout out to the people who've contributed already. Only one person's contributed actual code to the database, which is perfectly fine. This person here shift right once, but uh, we had one person work or like kind of contribute to an issue, um, and also commented on one of my YouTube videos. Um, Kalemion. Oh, I don't want to mispronounce your first name, but shout out to you and thank you for the idea and being very nice and sharing all my stuff in the Discord for Odin language. So anyway, for anyone who may be seeing this, if you want to contribute, please do. Whether it's finding issues and like bugs or brainstorming ideas, all that good stuff. I'll take it. I love that kind of stuff. I think I would love to have a project that I'm working on that people use for one, but also that people can contribute to. I think that's super cool. Never had a project that this, I guess, complex that was like that. Even though this one's not too complex. But anyway, um, so a little look into what I want to work on and have done for the next version. So as it stands, you cannot really do much with this. You can create database files, which are called collections. You can add clusters, which are the objects that hold the data. You can add records, which hold the actual data. But that's it. You can't do anything with it. So, I mean, you can erase and fetch it and all that stuff, but there's no data there. So right now, if I were to use a program and make a collection with 2 clusters in it, and each cluster had 4 records in it, well, those 4 records for each one, or 8 total, would have a record names, so foo bar, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then they would have data types, but they would have no data values themselves. So that's one of the things I'm working on here. It says begin work, but technically it's continue work on records. So I'll start working more on that and continue working on allowing people to actually have data stored in there. um, Next, the a tree command. So I was working on records before, and I got the idea to build like a little this. So this is your, imagine this is your command line, and it would look. This looks for. I forgot exactly how we got here. I think it was looking for. Oh, here we go. So we say we want to create a new record with this name of this type. And it says, okay, let's create that. Now it looks for all the things that you currently have and available to you. So this person, or me, has made one collection called foo, and inside of foo there is one cluster called bar that is empty. Um, and so I decided to add the new record called example into the cluster bar that is in the collection foo. So I like this design. I think it'd be really cool to have a command that just does that for you. So that's where I want to create a tree command. So from the command line inside of OstrichDB, if you enter the tree command, it would list, in my mind, it would list exactly like this. If you just did tree with no other arguments after it, maybe it just lists all the like everything, all the collections with each cluster in it, and inside of those clusters, each record in it. Or maybe if you specify like tree space collection, maybe it just shows all the collections. Or tree space clusters, it shows every single cluster inside of each collection that are in, or and so on and so forth. So I think that'd be pretty interesting to try to implement. This would be very specific to the actual database engine itself, rather than another thing that I'm working on called the Feather query language, which I want to use that, build that to interact with OstrichDB. So the next one, purge. Purge is essentially kind of like erase, but rather than deleting everything in a specific data object. So if I said erase cluster bar within collection foo, it would erase this whole thing. Now if I said purge cluster bar what it would do is keep every single thing, like name of record. So cluster name, cluster ID. I mean, it would keep these two because these are very important. But let's say we had another record here. Let's actually just modify this real quick. Sorry. Where are we? Let's just add one more. Where in the heck are we? There we go. Okay. So let's say we wanted to use a purge command. It would keep the names of each thing, but it would get rid of the value, except for these two up here. These have to be here. But any other non-special record, it would just get rid of the value itself. It would keep the name and the data type. So I think that'd be pretty interesting, pretty useful. Rather than using erase, if you're like, okay, I want to keep all this other stuff that I typed. I don't want to have to do a certain amount of work. I don't want to have to create a new record, give it a type and everything. I just want to get rid of the value and then reassign it a different value later. So that's what the purge command would do in my mind. The size command would simply just retrieve the size of a particular data object in bytes. So it would get, size collection, whatever, size collection foo would get the entire size of that file. Size cluster foo within collection bar would get the size of that of data that cluster um, is, and so on and so forth. So the stats command, I'm not sure about this one. I think it would. I think it'd just be a kind of cool little thing to do, like stats, like from the command line, just enter the word stats, and then um, it shows you how many times you've used erase or new or whatever. I think that it literally it would have no impact on how the database works, aside from just kind of giving some more information to the user. Um, the all modifier, I'm still thinking about how I want to implement this one. It would just kind of be thrown in there, like maybe fetch all records or something like that, and it would get every single record and not show what cluster it's in, or what. I don't know. The tree command kind of does this, or maybe like purge all will get rid of all data values for everything. Maybe that's something. I don't know yet. I might actually move this one to back to brainstorms and plan out a little bit more. The set command would be what actually you use to actually store value. So set record, and it would only work on records. So set record, um, foo to hello world or something like that. I think that would be fine. If anybody, by the way, if anybody has any ideas on like what would be better, let me know and maybe I can look into it and plan it out. So those are the things I would like to implement this upcoming version. Right now, I'm working on data integrity and data validation. Uh, so I'm creating checks to say like, hey, if so if a user decides to go into their collection file itself and somehow modify the data, and they forget to modify something else, well, now this data has lost integrity. Move this collection to quarantine, and then you know do something else with it later. I don't know, but that's kind of what the plan is. Make sure that the file version format is accurate to the version that I assign if a user, and also to make sure that clusters are collection files are actually in correct format, not just the version of the file, but the format itself. So if a user decide to go into their collection file and delete a closing bracket and save that file and leave it as is from there, and then they try to do something, well, the program will check like, hey, this file is missing something, something's wrong. So it probably best not to do any more actions on this file. Boom, move it to quarantine. So that's what I'm working on now. So um, I do have one thing that I'm curious about. and that's compressing files and I guess encrypting them too. Because right now you can just go into a file and look at all the stuff, modify it manually since it's plain text. So I think some type of encryption or zipping or file compression would be good. Let me know if anybody who's made it this far uh, agrees or has an idea of that. Let me know. I think that's pretty freaking important to prevent people from just going into somebody's computer and changing things up. So yeah, that's really it. I might work on a couple more of these, depending on how fast these ones go. Um, these to-dos go. But that's really about it. Version 3. I like to take my time. I'm not trying to get burnt out. So about a month from now, so late mid to late September is when I plan on being done by. Like that's the deadline I'm giving myself. So that's plenty of time for me to work on this every once in a while. Um, so yes, anyone who wants to contribute, please do, or anything. Um, like I'm also gonna try to build a website for this, a simple one, a super like one-page web application to kind of talk about it, maybe a little documentation, maybe some examples that I might build out and use cases in the far future. But I think that'd be real cool too. Now the last thing, FeatherQL, there's no code in here yet, but I'm going to start also working on this project, and I think I'm actually going to try to do this one in Rust. I've never written more than like 10 lines of Rust, so this would be interesting. But I feel like this would be a pretty cool way for me to learn another programming language, just like I'm using OstrichDB to learn Odin. The Feather query language will be written in Rust and help me learn Rust. So uh, maybe once I start adding code to this, I'll start putting videos up about that and let people contribute if they want. So that's about it. This is a very long video with just me talking. Stay tuned if you're interested. Take care. Peace.